having some distraction in your trader life is absolutely crucial, because otherwise you make so many mistakes out of boredom, spontaneous trades, etc. And having something, where you can get to when the market is in a bad shape, like now, for example, that's really, really important.
Sitting down today with Julian Komar. It's going to be good to talk about your trading style and kind of what you do. I've been following you for a while on X or Twitter. You do put a lot of good content out there. You're also trading, of course. We kind of have a similar style and also very different at the same time. So curious to hear what that's going to go exactly. But tell me more about kind of what you do these days and what you're into.
I'm into stock trading. So I am a stock trader, position trader, swing trader. We talked a little bit about that with almost 20 years of experience. So I came across a lot of different asset classes also in my own trading career. So I can also a little bit talk about that. So a little bit where I started as a trader. And I started as a trader almost 20 years ago when I bought my first mutual funds when I was 16. So that's really a lot of time ago, 23 years ago. And that brought me also more and more into trading, so into my own journey. And I think, over the years, I came more and more to the conclusion that I need to take care about my own finances and about my own trading. Because when I was starting out at 16 with mutual funds, I had one experience in my mind, which I could also share here. And that was, I was walking into the office of my financial planner at the time. And I was talking to them and I said to them, hey, I'm buying now these mutual funds, but you will call me, right? You will call me if things are going down. And you can imagine that they never, ever called me, right? And that was something where I got more and more into the direction of, okay, I have to take care about my own trading and my own investment. And I really came across all the different asset classes in my career. So in Germany, where I'm based, we also have something like certificates, so a very special type of trading vehicle. So I was trading that and trying that out. I traded CFDs over time, and then I finally got into the stocks area, mostly inspired by other traders here in Germany. So they traded some small caps and micro caps. And that brought me also more and more into the direction of stocks. And, we talked about that a little bit before we started to record this podcast. My passion lies into what is behind a stock, right? So this is really what interests me and excites me. And that's, fundamentals, and that is story. And that is something I found when I was starting out in stocks in Germany, because there was one guy who was also very much into the story of the company and the fundamentals, and I learned a lot from him. And today I'm trading I'm doing position trading and swing trading. So my horizon is weeks to months, and I really try to find these stocks which have the most and highest potential in the US. So I'm focusing only on US stocks. I personally think it's always better to focus on one market instead of, dabbling in a lot of different markets, even if we see right now that the US stocks are going down and we have some, let's call it healthier markets here in Europe. Yeah.
And definitely. It's crazy times right now for sure. When you look at fundamentals, what kind of things do you look at for determining the context of a stock and kind of how you should trade it?
Mostly sales, EPS, and EPS estimates. So I'm really focused on sales, to be honest, right? I learned that from another trader who was just focusing on sales and on EPS numbers. And one thing what is really important for me is, where are these sales coming from, right? Because I always think that a stock must be driven, or the sales must be driven by real products and services. Right? You want to have something innovative. And that's also why I put so much attention on story and on what I call my 360-degree approach, where I look at the stock from different angles. And, the sales, they really have to come from real products and real services. So that means from customer demand. And when I have a stock, when I have a company growing sales by 20, 30, 40%, that's really what I'm looking into. And when I have EPS numbers, which are based on the sales and EPS growth year over year, something like 50 or 100%, a lot of these stocks have much higher numbers, right? And this is what excites me, and where I go into a deeper analysis of the story and try to understand, okay, what the hell are driving these numbers in the stock? Yeah.
Does that give you an entry for the stock, or does that give you a context of like what direction you'll trade it in?
No, and this is, I said that already, I'm having this 360 degree approach. So I want to see fundamentals, I want to see the story, and I want to see technicals. And when it comes to entries and exits, it's all about technicals, right? I'm a breakout trader. I would say I trade 90% breakout trades and a little bit pullback trades and gap ups, but 90% breakout trades. So, and I want to have a technical entry signal. And why technical? At the end, the stock market is supply and demand, right? I can have an opinion about the stock. I can do an analysis about the stock, but I can be totally wrong on that. So when I look at the numbers and the stock is exciting for me, I want to make sure that institutions and other players in the market are looking the same way at the stock. And that's why I base my entry and my exit signals on technicals, so on the demand itself. So if something's breaking out on the upside, I know that people are paying more for the stock. And if the thing goes down, then I'm out, because they change their opinion too. So I'm buying mostly breakouts, and I'm selling mostly on moving averages. So when I have a 21 moving average break, or maybe an EMA 8 break. So, and I have a lot of different sell rules, which I can apply on the market, and depending really on the situation in the stock. I think that's crucial, right? If you have only one or two sell rules, that's probably not enough, because stocks are so different and can also move differently.
You trade, like me, the same thing, daily charts and weekly chart, which I'm sure you get the questions a lot from people is, why don't you go on lower time frame and trade the 1 hour chart, the 15-minute chart? Why don't you go and take more trades?
Yeah, I think mostly because I don't want to be so busy all the day with looking at the screens, right? So I would call myself lazy trader, but I'm not really lazy, to be honest, right? So lazy people do not make money in the market, and I'm using the weekly charts because I can screen the stocks once a week. I can see the patterns that I'm looking for in charts very clearly. So I have a screening routine once a week. On Friday, I screen the markets. And then I'm looking at the daily chart for an entry. I fine-tune sometimes my entries in the 30-minute charts, but it's very rare, right? And I personally think the more you get also into lower time frames, the more you are forced to do some trades, because there are more patterns, there are more things to trade. And I saw so many traders working on stock, or working with stock trading in the intraday charts, and they always try to get the perfect entry into stocks. And to be honest, I always say, the stock market is not perfect. And that's why I'm also not perfect as a trader. And it's totally fine for me to get into stocks on the daily chart, right? I mean, so you get so many price information in the daily chart. That's totally enough. And I want to spend my time differently, right? I don't want to sit the whole day in front of the computer. And, I'm doing also one-on-one mentoring. I have a community running with people together. So I'm very much in contact with other traders, right? And I see that I see two things regularly, or two mistakes that traders are doing. The first thing is taking trades out of boredom. So that means they're going onto lower time frames and there is always action, and the second thing is really that they try to force trades also in higher time frames, right? And this is something where I think, the less time you spend in front of your screens, the less there is a temptation to take any trades and force any trades, right? It comes down to emotional discipline, 100%, right? But at the end is I try to make it, or I try to have a distance between the market and me. And that is better with higher time frames. That's what I discovered. And that's also what I discovered with other traders together.
It's really cool to be able to do your own analysis like whenever you want on your schedule. And then if you take the trade now or an hour later, it doesn't mean like it's not a big difference. It could be like taking it like later or now, and price won't move that much compared to your targets and bigger time frames. It's kind of cool to be able to do it on your term. Plus, you spend a lot less time on trading. So.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, that every trader is different, right? You trade different than me. And every trader has a different perspective also on the market when it comes to time frames. Some people are very comfortable with daily charts, some not. Some are comfortable with intraday charts, and some of them use weekly charts. I very get often the question, why are you not using monthly charts? So because, there's always the dream of getting into a stock and then holding it forever, right? So, but that's always with the benefit of hindsight. And I always say, I'm not comfortable with the monthly chart because it is not fitting to my personality. And that's also one of the reasons why I do not trade a lot of these conservative stocks. I'm really focused on growth and momentum stocks. So try to catch some big winners. And when I trade all these conservative stocks, I'm not patient enough for that. And it's the same thing with a monthly chart, right? If I would be in a monthly chart and trading a stock for, I don't know, holding it for many, many months in a row, I probably would get nervous, right? It's not fitting my personality. I need some kind of action. So, and I would start to make mistakes because of that. So this is why I choose the daily and the weekly chart, because I think, that fits best to my personality. Yeah.
How much time do you spend per day or per week on trading?
The less, the better, to be honest. So I would say every day I spend around 1 or 2 hours, so not more. Right? I'm living in Germany. I have a very, very big benefit of the time zone. So the US session, the US trading session, is in the afternoon to the evening here. So I can plan my trades all before the market opens. And I would say I spend not more than 1 or 2 hours per day. And at the weekend and on Friday, I spend a little bit more time, to be honest, right? Because I do screening, I do some story research, etc. So I would say probably 3 to 4 hours, but that's it, And I could evenly do less, to be honest, right? If I would be more focused, if I would be more precise, then I could probably spend only 30 minutes on a day and a little bit less at the weekend. Because, but I also like to do some research during the week, so that's probably why it's 1 or 2 hours. Yeah. How much time do you spend every day?
I'm at maximum 30 minutes per day, but usually like 15 or so. It's usually my sweet spot. Mostly in the evening for me, because it's I'm in Asia, it's like basically the morning of New York is the evening here. So it's like in the evening for me, 9 p.m. or so. But yeah, if traveling is different. But usually I try to keep it like 15 minutes if I can. Usually it works well. Yeah.
That's great. I think, a lot of people don't know. I have been a part-time trader for, I would say, almost 20 years, right? I started to become a full-time trader last year. So I have been 20 years trading part-time. So, everything in my life was about optimizing my routines when it comes to trading. And I'm mentoring a lot of part-time traders, and a lot of part-time traders are coming to me because, I have so much experience with that. And I think, having some distraction in your life besides trading, you are traveling, I'm doing a lot of other things, limits also the time you can spend with your screens. And, and that helps you a lot to be much, much more disciplined and more patient. And on the other side, do not waste so much time, right? I see so many traders, to be honest, wasting so much time by monitoring prices, watching charts all the day. But at the end, the most important question in trading is, how do you make decisions, right? And when I'm fully prepared, when I'm following my 360-degree approach, where I say, okay, this stock is meeting my fundamental criteria, it's meeting the story criteria, there are great technicals, then it's just then the decision to make the trade is just a question of seconds. That's it, right? And if you have some clear rules that you can follow, I think trading becomes so much easier. And then it's also easier to do that part-time, right?
Definitely. What made you decide to make the jump from trading part-time to trading full-time?
I think it was not 100% my decision, to be honest. So I have been working in the e-commerce sector as a product manager and as a head of product for many years. So I managed big teams, so up to 10 directs and up to 100 or 200 indirect people that I was leading. And last year, my company and we decided to break up and go into different directions. And there was a time when I thought about, okay, how do you want to spend your year 2025? Do you really want to do that full time or not? And there was always one reason which spoke against, being a full-time trader. And I'm totally honest, I'm not 100% sure if I want to do that full-time for the rest of my life, because trading is a very lonely thing, right? You're sitting in front of your screen. You do not have a lot of contact with other traders. You have your family life, your friends, but you don't have colleagues like you have in a company. And I have been a manager for many years, mentoring people and taking care about people, and that is something where I always think, probably I will miss that. And last December, I went to the people in my community and said, okay, guys, I'm making this decision now. Are you interested in getting a little bit more in contact with me? So doing one-on-one mentoring. And, and people said, and my members said at the time, yeah, we are really interested in that. And that gives me now some social context, right? But to be honest, I'm not 100% sure if I want to be a 100% full-time trader all my life. And there is another reason, and I think so many people underestimate that. Having some distraction in your trader life is absolutely crucial, because otherwise you make so many mistakes out of boredom, spontaneous trades, etc. And having something, where you can get to when the market is in a bad shape, like now, for example, that's really, really important. So many people underestimate that. They always want to get away from their jobs into a full-time trader life, but they never seen the downsides of that.
Yeah, I think it's very true, especially the human aspect and the fact that you could trade all day, but you don't really contribute too much. Like, yes, you can make money, but you don't feel like you really contribute to society or maybe other people. And it's kind of good to do something else on the side. So totally agree with you on that. Yeah, it's all about how you feel with it too.
Yeah, and when I look at my own situation right now, would I say I'm a full-time trader? I would say probably not, because I spend so little time with trading, right? So I'm not a full-time trader. I'm probably more a full-time, trading coach, mentoring, and doing a lot of other things in my life. And then I'm doing trading. But the thing is, I'm doing all this other stuff to also be a little bit away from my own trading, to have some distance to my own trading so that I can trade better. And on the other side, also to fulfill my other needs as a human, right? To have some social context, to do some other stuff, which is exciting in my life, right? So I think as long as you're not a day trader, you should definitely have some other activities in your life.
For sure. Tell me, how do you pick the stocks to trade? Do you have a watch list you always refer back to and you kind of stick to those? Or do you do like a research and screen stocks to figure out what's good to trade now? Or how do you figure this out?
Yeah, I'm always orientate myself on the market, right? I'm doing consistently all the same stuff over and over again. So every Friday I run through my scans. I'm looking at the market and I'm looking from different angles on the market, right? When I screen for stocks, I already said that I'm looking for technicals, I'm looking for story, and I'm looking for fundamental. I cannot screen for story, but I have screeners for fundamental stocks. I have screeners for technical stocks. And then I build my watch list out of that. So that means I'm running probably through 300, 400 stocks on Friday. And I add only these stocks that appeal to me to my watch list. And at the end, I'm probably having something like 50 names on my watch list, a little bit more, and then I'm reducing them again. So I want not so many stocks on my list, because the more stocks, the more you have to deal with all the information coming to you. So my ideal watch list contains something like 35 to 50 names. So that is really the maximum. And then I'm doing a little bit story research. But over the years, I came across so many companies. I have the most company stories in my mind already. When I see a ticker symbol, I could say, okay, this is the story behind the company at the moment. Is it attractive? Is it not attractive, etc. And then I'm preparing a focus watch list for the week so that I can say, okay, these 5 stocks or these 10 stocks are these stocks I want to monitor very closely during the week. And I'm looking for some entries there. So, and sometimes there are some entries triggering, sometimes not. This is something I have to accept. But to be honest, I think I'm not looking for stocks. I'm not searching for them. They always find me. I always try to be a very passive trader. Passive in that sense that, the market is there and I'm just observing the market. And when I have very strong stocks, they pop up in my scans and they come to me. And then I'm doing the research. Then I'm looking at fundamentals. And then I'm looking for a concrete entry. But searching for stocks always leads to forcing trades or mediocre setups. And that's something I always try to avoid. I'm not sure. How is it about you?
That's a good point. For sure. I have a watch list that I follow. And then sometimes I tend to add to it. I try to use some screeners to figure out like what stocks are trending or what's happening in the market overall. But usually I try to stick to the same one. I think I have a list of 30 that I stick to and really kind of very rarely take trades other than that. But it's kind of, what I follow.
I think not so many traders set limits for themselves. This is always something I recommend. I always say set limits, right? Do not have 100 stocks on your watch list. Try it with 50 and try to get to 35. And the same is true with a focus watch list. Instead of, monitoring 20 stocks, go down to 10, go down to 5, try it out. Because I think with more selectiveness, you have more or you have a better quality of your setups and your stocks. And you must always ask yourself, where is it coming from? If I have 200 stocks on my watch list or 100, it's always coming from fear, right? Fear of missing out something. But if you are consistent and if you do things over and over and over again, you will learn over time that sometimes you will stumble upon some good winners. And it's not that you have to trade all the stocks, right?
Do you pay attention to correlation or I guess the different sectors that you trade, like not having all the stocks in the same sectors?
Yes, I'm doing that, but it's sometimes a little bit different or it's difficult because correlations change, right? So I try to limit myself to 3 stocks from one industry or one sector. And sometimes it's also very hard to find more really good stocks from one sector or one industry. But for example, at the beginning of the year, I made a big mistake. I made this big mistake to have too many data center stocks in my portfolio and going into the data center sell-off with that. And that also taught me one lesson, not all stocks are, or not all correlations are 100% visible. Sometimes you have correlations which are not 100% visible. And that also brought me to the learning that I say, okay, I also pay attention to themes, right? I don't want to have too much or too many stocks in my portfolio from the same theme, not only from the same industry or from the same sector, but you have sometimes stocks that belong to one theme, but they are in different industries and in different sectors, and you really have to keep an eye on them. So limitation also helps there to have a good portfolio risk management.
How do you build a story without being too biased? Because I feel like you could have your own opinion. Someone could think, oh, this stock is amazing because this and that. How do you avoid kind of putting all your expectations or your bias into the story?
I think you can't leave out emotions 100%, to be honest. And this is also one of the big benefits to be a part-time trader or have been a part-time trader for many years. I have been working in the e-commerce sector. So that means I have a lot of knowledge about everything what has to do with technology. Over the years, I built up some intuition about technology products, software products, e-commerce products, etc. So, and this is some knowledge I can use, right? And when it comes to the story perspective, I'm always trying to get an idea about the potential growth of a company. So that means how could the company scale in the future? And this is something where you need experience, right? You cannot follow a very clear plan and say, okay, look at that. So I'm always looking at, okay, how mature is a product? Can a product be applied to many different markets in the world? Can the company expand internationally, as an example? So, and when I see that, I get a feeling for the potential growth of a company. And what I'm mostly focusing on are companies, I call them single product companies, but that's not always true, right? If you have a company which only have a couple of products, they can scale their sales and their EPS much better as you have a very diversified company, right? I give you one example. I mean, everybody was talking about General Electric as they split up in multiple different companies when it came to the story perspective. And they said, yeah, but they are also involved in nuclear power for data centers and et cetera, et cetera. So, and at the end, but you know, General Electric and some other bigger mature companies, they are so diversified that at the end, if you have one good product, it has no impact on the sales and EPS at all, right? And this is why I prefer rather single product companies, because they can scale their sales so fast. And this is something you have to find out. You know, you have to find out what are the attractive products and services in a company, and you have to find out how is the impact of the sales from this product on the overall company sales and the EPS. And you need experience for that. You need experience, you need some intuition and also some knowledge about what is going on. But I'm very interested in almost everything. You know, I'm always reading a lot about companies, technologies, and with all these activities, I get more experience also in companies. But to be honest, you know, there are also some sectors where I have no knowledge about. Biotech is one of them, which is super difficult, and everything what has to do with basic material stocks, right? So oil stocks or I don't know, uranium stocks or something like that, they are all the same for me. So I just trade them on technicals. But, you know, to do some story picking in technology stocks, I think, or for me, it's easier to get behind the story. Yeah.
Tell me where people can find you or connect with you after this podcast. Where can they see your work and connect with you?
How people can connect with me? So I'm Twitter. So I'm posting a lot of stuff on Twitter. So you can get anytime on Twitter. I have also a YouTube channel where I'm teaching a lot of stuff for free. You know, you can find a lot about technical analysis, how to screen stocks, etc. on YouTube. I'm writing a newsletter for many, many years, every Sunday for free. So you can go also to my website and register for the newsletter. And yeah, I'm running also a community for a couple of years now. So that was also an experiment, to be honest. As the most things in my life, right? People always ask me to do something. So, and they ask me when I created a video course many years ago, they asked me if I can offer them some update service. And that's why I created this community. And the community, and this is very important for me, is not about getting rich quick. And it's also not about, you know, any stocks chatting or whatever. It's really about learning. And this is also why the most people come to me, listen to what I said on YouTube, subscribing to my newsletter, because they want to learn something. They want to learn something about momentum trading. They want to learn something about growth stock trading. And that's what I'm really proud on, right? So I'm trying to catch the right people into my world, and they like what I do, and that's what makes me proud, yeah. And so when I'm now a full-time trader, I also have more time to invest into all this stuff. And I think Twitter is a good start, on my website, yeah.
I'll put a link below. People can check it out and connect with you there directly. I appreciate your time here, Julian. It's been a lot of fun to chat with you and kind of discuss trading and the way you do things, which is a bit different than mine. So cool to expand our horizon that way. Hopefully we can bring you back on the podcast eventually and talk more trading.